It's time to get into the world of dating and relationships as we shine a spotlight on the common pitfalls many well-meaning men fall into. From being overly accommodating to lacking assertiveness, we're going to talk about the 10 common mistakes that can hinder your personal growth and your societal connections. These are the 10 nice guy mistakes many men often make. Whether you're looking to get better in the dating world or enhance your interpersonal relationships, you're in the right place. As we're going to dissect these pitfalls and offer practical tips on how you can avoid them. Now, if you're new here, welcome. Jeff, your Style O.G. On this channel, we discuss various men's lifestyle topics such as style, grooming, and dating. If any or all those topics interest you, I invite you to subscribe, tap that notification bell, and join us. And to my returning friends like W. Andrew 223, salute. Now, first up on the list of the 10 nice guy mistakes men often make is a big no-no, not setting personal boundaries. You see, this is an issue because it can often lead to you being taken advantage of or mistreated. When you fail to set clear boundaries, you will often find yourself accommodating the needs and desires of others at the expense of your own well-being. That's why it's often said, and I strongly second it, one of the most powerful words in the English language is one of the shortest, saying no. And one of the difficulties of not setting clear boundaries, it also makes other people not know where they stand with you. Not only will they take advantage of you, some people may unintentionally cross your boundaries. Establishing clear boundaries is a sign of self-respect. It helps you maintain healthy relationships, and it makes sure you prioritize your values and your needs. Now, our first tip is a kissing cousin to this next one. Another typical nice guy mistake, being overly accommodating. Now, this is a typical nice guy mistake that often stems from the desire to please others at your own expense, often lead to you neglecting your own personal growth, needs, and desires, all in favor of meeting the perceived needs of others. While being kind and helpful are good traits, constantly prioritizing and accommodating other people will lead to you being resentful, and it will often lead to an imbalance in your relationships, where you give much more than you receive. You need to make sure that you prioritize your boundaries and your own self-care. You can still be kind to other people, but don't sacrifice your own needs and desires all the time, which is directly related to our next nice guy mistake, being too available. This is another typical nice guy mistake because it often stems from the fear of being rejected. This is a problem a lot of nice guys have. They're afraid of not pleasing other people. They put so much validation on the outside. Constantly being available is another thing that stops you from enforcing your personal boundaries and your self-respect. And it conveys a sense that your needs and priorities are not important. This definitely can often happen when you're dating a woman. If she can always count on you, that you're gonna drop everything for her anytime she needs you, many women will take advantage of this. But it's not just women. Friends and family will take advantage of this as well. Give people time to miss you. Do your own thing. Be on your purpose. When you have spare time for others, it's okay to share it, but it's a huge nice guy mistake to be too available. Now, next up is a subtle but no less problematic nice guy mistake. Covert contracts. What do I mean by this? A covert contract is characterized by unspoken expectations attached to acts of kindness. For instance, you might do something nice for someone without communicating that you expect something in return, like attention, validation, or affection. When these expectations aren't openly communicated, a lot of times you won't get them and it will lead to you being resentful. But the problem here, the onus is on the nice guy. When you do something kind, it should be with no expectations, unless you expressly communicate these expectations. A lot of times nice guys do these kind things and they create these covert contracts in their mind. What you need to do instead, learn to clearly communicate your expectations and desires, open and honestly, without creating conditions both parties haven't agreed upon. And this can often lead to what I like to call the dark side of being a nice guy, emotional manipulation. Now, just because someone is nice doesn't mean they're a good person. Oftentimes, so-called nice guys are only doing these acts of kindness because they want something. They often use emotions to try to control or influence the behaviors of others. Often manifests itself this way. The guy will play guilt trips or play the victim to elicit the desired response from other people. That's not cool. Oftentimes, these nice guys just aren't good people. When you use emotional manipulation, it prevents genuine connections and destroys trust. Instead of resorting to manipulation tactics, if you're gonna be kind from a sincere place, Using emotional manipulation disguised as nice acts is just plain and simple unacceptable. Next up is a nice guy mistake that definitely leads to bad results: being passive aggressive. Now this involves expressing frustration, anger, resentment indirectly. Instead of openly communicating feelings or concerns, a passive aggressive person will often take subtle jabs or use sarcasm or the silent treatment to express their displeasure. Now this behavior often stems from a fear of conflict or wanting to avoid confrontation, but it often leads to misunderstandings, tension, and the erosion of trust. Passive aggressiveness undermines effective communication and genuine connection. What a nice guy needs to do instead: express your concerns directly and assertively. This will help you build healthier relationships built on honesty, transparency, and mutual respect. Now, this passive-aggressive behavior is definitely often connected to our next nice guy mistake: having a lack of assertiveness. This is often seen in nice guys who are timid or pushovers. This failure to prioritize your own needs and desires and stand up for yourself will often lead to you being taken advantage of or taken for granted. And the root of this lack of assertiveness is often a fear of conflict and wanting to be liked by everyone. And as we mentioned earlier, is a huge mistake. You want to be assertive. If standing up for yourself and prioritizing your needs makes other people not like you as much, good for them. You have to prioritize your own needs if you're going to have healthy relationships. Now, I must forewarn you, there's a difference between assertive and aggressive. Being assertive is standing up for yourself with confidence and respect, whereas when you're being aggressive, it's very hostile, forceful, and overly confrontational. If a person can't respect that you have self-respect and are going to stand up for yourself and be assertive, let them go. You're being too nice. Next up is a nice guy mistake that's a direct line to the friend zone: friendship expectations. This involves anticipating romantic or sexual interactions from a friendship that hasn't been clearly communicated with both parties. Now, this friend zone behavior often stems from a fear of rejection or desire for validation. Now, the typical behavior of this nice guy in the friend zone: I'll just hang around and eventually it'll get romantic. Sticking around and not expressing how you feel and just thinking it's gonna lead that way, most often than not, it won't. This often can lead to discomfort, misunderstandings, and hurt the existing friendship. It's not the woman's fault that this hasn't turned into something romantic when you haven't stepped up and expressed your desires. You have to be very clear with the woman. Tell her directly, I'm interested in you romantically. Do you feel the same way? If you get a no and still want to be friends with her and you can deal with it, cool. You might wind up with a genuine friendship. But don't get all resentful if she doesn't return your romantic interest when you haven't told her you're feeling her that way. Ignoring red flags, definitely a nice guy mistake. This involves overlooking warning signs or problematic behaviors in others out of a desire to be accommodating and to avoid conflict. This definitely leads to bad results, even though it sometimes comes from a good place. Most people that ignore red flags often want to be forgiving or give people the benefit of the doubt, and they think this type of behavior is virtuous. It's not. Dismissing these red flags leads to being taken advantage of, mistreated, taken for granted, and leads to unhealthy relationships. Ignoring red flags prevents you from protecting your own well-being. And when you do this, it often leads to feelings of resentment. Recognizing and addressing red flags immediately is essential. Respecting yourself and creating positive and fulfilling relationships. One of the number one nice guy mistakes I often see: avoiding authenticity. This is when you pretend to be someone else just to be liked. And it often involves suppressing your thoughts, feelings, and wants to accommodate other people, or more importantly, their POV of you. Oftentimes with nice guys, this comes from a place of insecurity. They think if they show who they really are, they won't be accepted. When you resort to presenting a false image or hide your true self, you're blocking meaningful connection. Avoiding authenticity prevents other people from getting to know the real you. And this can lead to shallow interactions and a lack of trust, especially when they realize you aren't who you portrayed yourself to be. And the problem presenting this false image and not being authentic, you can't keep it up forever. So don't go out of your way to present this nice guy image that isn't really you. In the long run, it will prevent you from having the genuine connections you're probably trying to establish. Okay, so there you have it. 10 nice guy mistakes men often make. Now do me a favor, let me know in the comment section if there's some nice guy faux pas you think I left out. And if you enjoyed this video and found it informative, I highly recommend you check out this video about being kind instead of nice and what's the difference. You can check it out right here.